My name is Tom Woods with R2 Sports Technology. In this video, we're going to take a few minutes to look at a set of situational scan results. We're going to take a perspective of a defensive perspective on this one. We're going to be looking at some scan results on an opposing team's offense. And what I want to do is look in the detailed results file and walk you through the process of how you best interpret what you see in this file and how you best utilize that in preparation for an opponent that you may be seeing in the next week. The first thing to keep in mind, a couple of things to draw your attention to when you look at a detailed report, and we have this opened here in Excel. As when you get your results files back, you'll see a situational scan set of results as an Excel file, which is what we're looking at here. Now, it's intentionally, in addition to an Excel file, you'll also get a PDF version of this. It's kind of set up so you can more easily print it out if you'd like to. But really, the power in exploring and understanding your scan results from a detailed standpoint is in Excel. So you'll want to open it up in Excel because it'll give you the ability to kind of very quickly filter and sort and kind of hone in on some of the details that you'll see there. Now, as you may see from some of the scans that you run, depending on the data that you have and the nature and the nature of the scan and the type of parameters you set for the scan, you can get a lot of results back in one of these. Now, this is an example again of a defensive staff that scanned an opposing team's offense. And I think in this one, this has well over 1,000 different high probability tendencies in it. I think we're about 1,200 or so as I scan down this list. So there's lots of information that comes back when we run many of these scans. Now, to help you understand exactly what passes through the filter of a scan, I'll draw your attention up here to the scan criteria, the little section here up in the upper left. You see a minimum number of occurrences and a confidence level. So on your report, it's going to tell you what those parameters were set for when the scan was run. And those are very important parameters to the scan. Minimum number of occurrences, in this case is 5. What that tells the scan processor as it runs your scan is that anything that's going to make it onto this list needs to have happened at least 5 times. And we set that because we don't want to find a bunch of situations where we have a bunch of 100% tendencies on 2 occurrences, which really is not very telling. That could just be chance. So one of the parameters that affects how many things make it onto this list is what your minimum number of occurrences is. And additionally, the confidence level in this case was set for 60%. So what that's telling us is nothing's going to be on this list. Anything on this list is something that happened at least 5 times and that this team demonstrated at least a 60% tendency in. So it's got to be at least that strong of a tendency to make it onto this list. Now, the way you interpret what you're seeing here again in Excel, we've built this report with a prompt along the top. You see this reference right here. It says when the scan team is in the following situations, and then you'll see the scan parameters listed below here. So these were the different situational fields that we were exploring in an effort to predict certain outcomes. So in this case, we were scanning things like down, distance, hash, personnel group, formation, motion, strength, field zone, to-go groups. These were all the different things we were looking through, trying to predict a specific outcome. Now on the right are the specific outcomes we were trying to predict, and in this case, we were scanning for play type, play direction, pass zone. If I continue over here, we had a few more things, gap that they might have been running into, and the ball carrier. Now, so again, the prompt along the top helps you interpret what you're reading when you go through these. What we're saying is when the team was in a given situation, these were the outcomes that could be expected at a certain degree of confidence. So we're reading the left side tells us the situational clues or settings that yield a certain type of result. So the way you interpret and read a set of scan results is across each row. So every row is its own high probability tendency. They're indexed down the left side. We have a field here called indicators that tells you how many different things are in effect for that tendency. Now, again, the way we read going across is anything that's lit up is in effect. If it's not lit up, it just simply doesn't matter. It's not part of the tendency at all. So as a quick example, let's look down here at index number 10. As I go across index number 10, I'll see I have an indicator lit up under hash, and it's indicating the left hash. So what this is telling me is we have a tendency that's related to when this team is on the left hash, The only other thing that's lit up is when they're strong left. So what I'm looking at when I interpret this tendency here, I'm reading only those two things. Those are the only two things that matter for this certain situation we're going to see here in a second. So what we're saying is when this team is on the left hash, strong left, nothing else matters. Doesn't matter what down, doesn't matter what formation in, doesn't matter if they're using motion, doesn't matter if they're in the red zone. None of that matters because it's not lit up. It's just left hash, strong left. Here's the outcome you can expect. And if we come to the right, again, if it's lit up, then that's in effect. So in this case, we can expect that they're going to run the football. And the percentage next to it is shown, and the number of occurrences are shown as well. So when they're on the left hash, strong left, we can be 76% sure they're going to run the ball. There was 21 times that they were in that unique combination, and 16 of those times they ran the football. Now, if I scroll over here to the right, that's the only thing that's in effect over here from a tendency standpoint. So that's all there is to that tendency. Left hash, strong left equals 76% run. That's simple. Now, so as we go through these, you'll have a number of situations where you can, they get more and more complex as you go down. There's more and more things that may be in effect. So again, as another quick example here, on this number, let me see if I get the index number here for you. Index number 40. First down, right hash, strong right is 78% run, 67% sure they're going to the right, and 67% sure they're running into the C gap. Okay? So you're reading across each row to interpret what each tendency says. Now, again, like we indicated, there's many high probability tendencies in here. And this is the purpose of the scan. This is what the scan does. And this goes to the whole point of why we do scans, is that high probability tendencies usually are in unique combinations of things. They're not usually in obvious places. So to find where they are, we have to search through all these different combinations. And that's what this report is showing you, all these different combinations that yield a high probability tendency. Now, in terms of what you want to do, let's take, again, the role of a defensive coordinator in this case, is I've got every stone turned over on this team. I've got literally 1,200 plus unique situations where I can have a high confidence in what they're going to do. Now that can be very overwhelming, I give you that. So what I encourage guys to do is always think through your typical way you approach a team. So some coaches are down and distance types of guys. When they want to break a team down, they start looking at down and distance combinations. Some guys are personnel people. They always look through the lens of personnel groups. Some are formations. Doesn't matter. Whatever your typical way approach to how you tear a team apart is, you should maintain that, and you should leverage this to help you see if there are high probability tendencies along your line of thinking. So as an example, let's say that you are a formation-based coach where as you look at an opponent, the big first clue you're looking for is what formation are they showing me. Now, what you can do then, in Excel, you'll see under each one of these different headings a little drop-down button here. What that allows you to do is filter and just bring up information where something is relevant in that particular category. So in this case, let's say we want to look for a certain formation and see, are there any formations that yield high probability tendencies on this opponent. So as a defensive coach, I might come in and I might decide to filter here. So when I pop that up, I can select as many or as few of these different formations as I want. It's showing me all the formations that are shown here are involved in some sort of a high probability tendency. Now let's just pick one of them to see what we might find. Maybe we want to look at this formation they call East. So let's select East. When we do that, it immediately filters all those thousands of results and just brings up the things that have something to do with East. And I can just that quickly say, here's this first one that's here is a pretty easy one to interpret. When they're in an East formation, nothing else matters. When they're in East, it's 100% run. 60% of the time it's going to be play number 36. 80% of the time it's going to the right. 60% of the time it's going to the C gap. And 60% of the time they're giving the ball to number 39. So I can just that quickly begin to pull out pieces of information that I can hold on to or prepare my team for, or start to keep my eyes open for as I prepare for this team. So the filters become a very powerful thing for you to be able to very quickly hone in and see if there's something unique that might give you an idea of what may or may not be coming. Another quick example, let's say you are a down and distance type of person, you want to look through that lens. You could just as easily come in and say, do they have any unique tendencies that are associated with second down and between, well, let's say second down and say 5 yards to go. That unique combination alone, I can pull up and I can see one right here. Second down and 5 is 100% run, 7 out of 7 times. Okay. If I was to add, if I look at this next one down, if you include that they're in regular personnel, you can now also predict that they're going to go to the left. So think through the lens of how you tear a team apart and how you approach breaking a team down, and use this to hone in on where things might be. I don't want you to be overwhelmed by the fact that there's thousands of these. Use this detailed list to guide you to look for the types of things you may be looking for. From an outcome standpoint as well, there may be some specific things that you're looking for. You may wonder, are there any situations where I can be 100% sure that they are going to go to the left, let's say. If you want to do that, you can filter for that as well. I could come over here and say, play direction, I want to see situations where they go left, and I could filter even on the percentage here. And I don't know if there's a 100% one, there is, in fact. I can pick the 100% filter, and here I have every tendency, every situation where I can be 100% certain they're going to the left. Okay, so as simple as the first one at the list, an R slide motion. Nothing else matters. If you see an R slide motion, every single time they went to the left. 5 out of 5 times. So again, this report is set up to help you explore. And I always encourage coaches not to be overwhelmed by the sheer volume of stuff that's in the report, but to use it to search for things that they're concerned about. And I'll tell coaches, the right way to approach this is what keeps you up at night. What is worrying you about this team? What about this opposing offense has you worried? And see if you can dial that into one of these detailed reports and see if they exhibit a high probability tendency around that type of worry or concern, because those are the things that really matter to you. Don't be overwhelmed by the size of the list. Use it to focus in on the things that you're concerned about and identify their indicators that are going to show you when something is coming and when something is not. Hope this is helpful to begin to understand how to utilize these detailed reports. We have other videos that will show you how to utilize your summary reports and outcome scans and a whole number of other things. But from a pure looking at a set of detailed results and how to utilize that to tear a team apart, hopefully this gives you an idea of how to approach that. Thank you for taking a few minutes.